Hello everyone, this is Sam. In today's video we're going to be talking about the new legendary that got released with the Living Story episode, which is Verdarach. This legendary is probably the one that I have liked the most so far, mostly for the effect that it has when drawn. When you draw that legendary, the ghostly armies join you in the fray, and I think that this is simply incredible. Let's have a look at that animation for a second, just so you guys can see why I love it this much. Just look at this. And then there is also the fact that the legendary weapon in itself is truly gorgeous. It is a huge warhorn that is actually, in my opinion, the best pun that has ever been made by a Guild Wars 2 dev. Whomever is the person who worked on this, I find it really ingenious because this weapon is a warhorn, a weapon that makes sound, and the weapon in itself is the actual interpretation of visual noise for the simple fact that it is stupidly huge. I really love this. Now, the weapon in itself is rather gorgeous. If you look at how it has been crafted and how intricate the design is, it definitely owes its spot as a legendary. Now, not only is the weapon really good looking as a model, it has also been given proper animations to interact with the skills. We're going to be demonstrating this on a Tempest, and in my opinion, just that should get you sold on that legendary. If we cast any of the Tempest skills, you can see that it actually goes directly from the end of the warhorn. The warhorn is being properly blown and the skills are cast from it instead of just looking ridiculous like it does on some of the other models. Let's look at it again. See, the effect directly leaves the warhorn. In my opinion, this makes it one of the best legendaries by far. Now, of course, this legendary is tied to Heart of Thorns, even though it got released after Path of Fire was given as an expansion pack. This means that you have two possibilities for crafting it, and we're going to use the second part of this video to talk about the two ways that you can acquire a legendary weapon in Guild Wars 2 if you own both expansions. The first one relies on the Magma Mastery, and the second one relies on the Desert Mastery. Now, of course, each of them has their advantages and their inconveniences. For the first one, when you do the map exploration of Heart of Thorns, you directly get the various gifts pertaining to each of the maps, and then upon having all of your masteries maxed out, you can get, at the end, the right to buy the various gifts from specific tribe vendors. Now, once you have all of these gifts acquired, you can finally make for yourself the Gift of Magma Mastery. So just as a reminder, the 4 gifts that you need to make the Gift of Magma, which is one related to explorations, are the Gift of the Fleet, of Tarrier, of the Chak, and of the Jungle. So these are the ones that you get purely from exploring the maps. And then you need to craft the Gift of Insights. For that gift, you need the Gift of the Itzel, the New Hawk, the Exalted, and the Gift of Gliding, which means that all of these mastery lines must be brought to the full completion. If you do not have all of your Heart of Thorn masteries, it might be more interesting to go into Path of Fire. We're going to be discussing that a little bit later on. The last item that is key in the making of the Gift of Magma Mastery is the Crystalline Ingot. The Crystalline Ingot is actually pretty annoying to make in itself because it requires crystalline ore. Crystalline ore can only be harvested from large spots in Dragonstone or directly as a reward from during the story tied to the X-Pack number 1. Now, if you are diving for the first time into Guild Wars 2 and you haven't completed the story yet, this is most definitely a good way to make your first legendary, because you're going to get a lot of crystalline ore given to you by the story steps. Then you only need to do a few Dragonstones which can actually be multi-looted in order to get what you are missing. Of course, this requires quite a bit of map currency, but then again, with the way that the metas are organized in Heart of Thorns, you can just rotate between the maps endlessly in order to make sure that you always have a meta event going on. As such, getting an entire gift of Magma Mastery should take you less than 12 hours. At least, that is how much it took me the last time I did it, which was for my birthday. And I did start from 0. Now we're gonna have a look at what you need in order to make a legendary gift if you're working with the Path of Fire way. In my opinion, it's a little bit more of a hassle, but we're gonna have a look at that and you can choose the best one for yourself. When it comes to making a gift of Desert Mastery, you're gonna need 3 specific elements: the gift of the desert, the gift of the rider, and funerary incenses. As you can see, this does match the same scheme as we had on the gift of Magma Mastery. The only item they have in common is the Blossom Shard that you buy with skill points. Now let's have a look at the more specific gifts of the Path of Fire way so that we can see whether or not they're truly better. So first of all, when it comes to making the gift of the desert, you need to explore the 4 maps. So you need to get the Oasis, the Highlands, the Riverlands, and Desolation. Now, you do not simply get these gifts by doing the completion of the map. You need to go back to a specific character, do a heart, and then you can buy the gifts with karma. In my opinion, that's really annoying. Like in Heart of Thorns, we do not have hearts. The only thing that you need to do are hero points and the rest of the classical exploration. But in Path of Fire, we do have the hearts, and that's already some extra effort that is added on top. Of course, the maps are a little bit less hard to navigate in, because the maps of Heart of Thorns are all about verticality, whereas the maps of Path of Fire are all about the expansion of the size of the area. But still, I think that the Path of Fire way is a little bit more annoying when it comes purely to the exploration, especially for the fact that mounts can be used on the HoT maps and truly trivialize the exploration of it. Now when it comes to the gift of the rider, this is tied to the first 4 mounts. Just for a reminder, the 5th hidden mount was the Griffin, and we're getting the 6th mount, the Roller Beetle, with this episode of the Doing Story. But for this gift, you need to have all of the first 4 masteries fully completed. And then you can buy the individual gifts that we call the spirit of the insert name of the mount from specific NPCs, and it's gonna cost you 100 LG mosaic each. LG mosaics are a little bit annoying to acquire. So when you do bounty targets, for example, you usually get between 2 and 7 and rarely 20 to 25. That would mean that you need to do quite a bit of legendary bounties just to ensure that you can buy one of these gifts. And then we are not done. You can of course get more of these by doing some events on the new Living Story maps or on the meta events. But still, that's quite a bit of effort for a currency that's also going to be used in some other steps of the acquisition of elements needed to make the gift of Desert Mastery, as we're going to see right now by looking at Funerary Incense. When it comes to acquiring Funerary Incense, for each and every one of them, you are going to need trade contracts, or you can go with LG mosaics. Of course, it's better to go with trade contracts because we saw that LG mosaics were already quite hard to acquire. Now, when it comes to acquiring each of these funerary incenses, you can only buy 1 time per account per day from the Read on Heart vendors and 5 times per account per day from other vendors. Now, there is not more than 10 vendors, so of course you're gonna be quickly brought to a stop when it comes to buying these items. That means that, in my opinion, going for the Magma Mastery is better because you can just farm that in one go, whereas when it comes to the Funerary Incenses, you do hit a cap, which is limited to a day, and this stops you in the making of your legendary, whereas if you have more time to play, you can simply make it in one go by going the HoT way. This should give you a very clear idea of what is the best way for you. If you want to take your time a little bit more and put a little bit less effort, you can go the Path of Fire way, or if you want to just do it in one go and you're ready to farm, the HoT way is for you. In my opinion, the HoT way does remain better when it comes to this, for the simple reason that you do not have to grind events or bounties in order to get the LG Mosaic currency. Now, this is of course my own personal opinion, and it might differ when it comes to you or to your friends. I hope that anyways you have enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do put a like under it, write a little something under the description, and try with the others. And if you want to take it a little bit further, we have a Discord server and there are some other links to social media in the description. I hope that you have had a very enjoyable time, and I wish every single one of you some happy times in the new Living Story.